Lembit Opic, BBC Radio Kent. It's all here.
We're discussing what your councillors are worth to you. Are they worth a 15% pay increase? Let's speak to Karen Constantine, Labour councillor. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
The councillor for Newington in Thanet.
I'm the councillor for Newington in Thanet as district councillor, but I'm also the county councillor for the Ramsgate division. And
did you vote for this increase?
No, I voted against it. I didn't just vote against it, I spoke against it.
Why?
I urged real caution about this because I said I think this will be absolutely, I think it's too much. I think it'll be viewed as councillors having their being fat cats. I think it's wrong given that other workers aren't having a pay rise. I said that in my division, which is a very poor part of Kent, it will go down very badly with those people that aren't earning good money, that are forced to use food banks and that are struggling with austerity cuts. When
is there ever a good time for a politician to accept a pay increase, Karen?
Well, we did have in Kent, I mean, I'm new to Kent, but they did have an independent pay review body, and that body took into consideration all evidence and came up with a suggestion of a 1.5 pay award for allowance award for councillors. Now, it seems to me if you've gone to the time and trouble and the cost of establishing an independent review body, the least that you can do is listen to them when they make a suggestion to you, a recommendation to you. I mean, I presume that a pay review body exists in order to stop these issues becoming an absolute political football. And I think that's what's happened here. This has now become a political football.
I could argue that it's only a football because you're standing there trying to score penalty points at the goals against the Conservatives.
I think it's utterly wrong what's happened. I think when I look at what's happening in Thanet, to the poorest parts of Thanet, to those really poor wards that exist there, when I see on a very daily basis what's happening to people and how much they're struggling, I cannot justify in my own mind this pay rise. I didn't come into this role thinking there would be any sort of a rise in allowances. I took a view about wanting to go into public service, wanting to do that. This is not about the money, but this is about not only, this is about being fair and treating people equally. And I think the justification that was given in the chamber for this is completely erroneous. This is not about improving diversity in the chamber. This is about people awarding themselves a very, very overly generous allowance rise.
And yet the MPs, in an attempt to get out of this quagmire, appointed an independent pay review body, took the responsibility for deciding their salary away from themselves, and still they get slammed because the independent review body has given them an increase. Can a politician win this one?
I don't know whether a politician can win this one, but the point here is really simple. 15% pay self-awarded allowance rise for Kent County councillors is an absolute slap in the face for ordinary working people, and especially those people that actually work for Kent County Council. I agree with the comments of the last person, and also for people involved right across the county that are public sector workers. I mean, I find it outrageous. I found it unbelievable that people could even begin to start to justify this sort of rise under the current sort of austerity measures that are taking place.
It does lead us to having a series of obvious questions I need to ask, Karen. First of all, will you be taking the increase?
Well, I had thought that I would take the increase, and I'll tell you what I thought I would do with the money, which was to plough it back into political activity in order to beat the Tories. So I'll be thinking about that, and I'll be guided by the Labour group on what we do with it. I mean, this story's just emerging overnight. I can tell you that my Twitter and Facebook have been alive with, there's so many comments. I mean, as I came onto the radio show, you were saying this has got universal disapproval. So I think, given that it's got universal disapproval, we've got to think about how we manage that and what we do with it.
So what about other Labour councillors who might take the increase?
You'll need to speak to them about that. I'm saying what I'm planning to do is to plough that money back into community activities and political activities in Thanet in order to run political campaigns to oust the Tories.
But that's a way of saying I'll take the money and I'll spend it on politicking, which is what you're doing. You want to have it both ways. You want to slam the increase, then you want to use the increase.
I do. If I'm being given this increase and I can use it to raise issues in communities, then I think that might be a good way forward.
But that's the best of both worlds, Karen. I know what it was like when I was a councillor. I used to spend lots of my own money campaigning. So in a sense, you're accepting the increase because you're going to be less worse off because you would have probably been paying for that stuff anyway.
Of course, Lambert, the alternative is to get, deeply involved in gesture politics and give the money to a charity or allow Kent County Council to keep the money. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to take a view on what we do. I think this increase is wrong. I think it's completely disproportional. I think it's a slap in the face for people. I've got a huge group of people that support me locally as a Kent County Councillor, as a district councillor, and I will go back to that group of people and I will say, what would you like me to do with this?
So you would feel the same about all the Labour councillors who've accepted, and Labour MPs have accepted an increase from the independent body?
They've accepted a pay increase from an independent pay body. I think that's what pay bodies are set up to do, and I'm not an MP, so this is not my issue. But we had at Kent County Council, we commissioned a pay review body. We paid for that as taxpayers. We've then taken their evidence and we've said, actually, we'll just disregard this and we'll award ourselves a very handsome allowance. And my guess is that now every Conservative council in the country is looking at Kent and thinking, right, we'll have a go at doing that ourselves now.
Your party... Sorry, Karen, go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think this is probably the start of a bit of a rush to do this.
Your party politicising it, though, which would suggest that if a Labour councillor did the same thing, somewhere in the other anywhere in the country, then there's a risk of hypocrisy here.
I would very much doubt that a Labour council would do it, but I don't know.
I'll do my research on that, Karen.
Please do.
One last one for you, Karen. There's another very pragmatic point people make, which is the majority of councillors are white, retired men because they can afford it. What about this point? You said you rejected the social inclusion point, but what about this point that I was able to afford to be a councillor in Newcastle upon Tyne because I had a good job in marketing? But if I hadn't had that good job in marketing, I couldn't have spared the time.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I'm actually 54 years old, so I don't mind giving my age away. And I've actually took a decision probably about 6 to 8 months ago to leave my full-time career because I find the idea of public service so compelling. That sounds a bit worthy, I know, but it is the truth. And I've been fortunate that I've been able to do that. I'm at a later stage in my life, but I have foregone a good career in order to do what I'm actually passionate about. Within our own group, we've got 2 very young members who are the group leader and the deputy group leader, and they are strikingly young inside the chamber. I only wish I was too, but it's taken me a long time to get here. But I think it is a bit rich, actually, to say, actually, we're taking this rise because we think the increased allowance will attract people from greater diversity into the chamber. That's actually not how you improve diversity.
Thanks, Karen. That's Karen Constantine, who's not keen on this increase. What do you think? 03459 811111.
On 104.2 FM in Dungeness, Herne Bay and Folkestone, and 96.7 FM in the West.
This is BBC Radio Kent.